we'll let others join us as they come in. Today, I want to just talk a little bit about a prayer practice called welcoming prayer. Anyone have any experience with welcoming prayer? Steve does. We have, it's part of the contemplative prayer program, along with centering prayer. They're both intentional prayers. Welcoming prayers are more of, there's choice. Welcoming prayer is really a practice of attending, letting go, and surrendering to God in the present moment of our daily life. Hi, Joyce. Welcome. And it's something that we covered, I think, in one of our earlier PrayerLab sessions. I think it was one that I did back in 2019. But this is not a one and done. And as I was thinking about the my PrayerLab minute last week on the Serenity Prayer, welcoming prayer is part of my program of recovery as well, because it helps me to accept those things that I cannot change. It's being open to living life on life's terms, as we say. It's part of being able to see what we can change, and being able to know that most of the things that happen around us, it's our reaction to them rather than the event itself that causes us discomfort and disapproval. So I just want to open this morning with what's called a welcoming blessing. This is written by Jan Richardson, and it comes from her book, The Cure for Sorrow, a book of blessings for times of grief. But I think of it as also a blessing of all of the things that come into our lives and how we need to be, we need to keep our door open for all of the things that are happening around us. So I'll start with this blessing, and you can either close your eyes or just listen, whatever is most comfortable to you. When you are lost in your own life, when the landscape you have known falls away, when your familiar path becomes foreign and you find yourself a stranger in the story you had held most dear, then let yourself be lost. Let yourself leave for a place whose contours you do not already know, whose cadences you have not learned by heart. Let yourself land on a threshold that mirrors the mystery of your own bewildered soul. It will come as a surprise what arrives to welcome you through the door, making a place for you at the table and calling you by name. Let what comes, come. Let the glass be filled. Let the light be tended. Let the hands lay before you what will meet you in your hunger. Let the laughter, let the sweetness that enters the sorrow. Let the solace that comes as sustenance and sudden, unbidden grace. For what comes, offer gladness. For what greets you with kindly welcome, offer thanks. Offer blessing for those who gathered you in and will not be forgotten. Those who, when you were a stranger, made a place for you at the table and called you by your name. Any thoughts or reactions to that blessing? For me, it kind of makes my heart feel open to things that may be going on around me that I'm not able to control or not very happy with. simply because of my perception. So in welcoming prayer, a part of it addresses the values of our false self system on both the conscious and unconscious level. When I say that, it's about putting our ego in perspective. And I know I've mentioned it in the past, but I've used the Enneagram quite a bit to look at what my personality profile is and how I react to others and how I associate in my relationships with others. And it helps me to know what my motives are in my relationships. And the welcoming prayer is a way for me to have those feelings come in and welcome them in during my prayer, and then to let them go. And I think that's one of the most important parts of this prayer. There's really three movements really into the prayer. It's feeling and sinking into what we're experiencing in this moment in our bodies. It's welcoming those things that we're experiencing in that moment in our body. And it's an opportunity to consent to the God's indwelling in us. And then finally, it's part of the surrender. It's the letting go by saying, I let go of my desire for security, affection, control, and embrace this moment as it is. So, can any of you think about things that are maybe facing you right now, either good or bad, in your perception, that are causing you any discomfort? Because we'll keep those in mind as we go through our prayer practice. I want to make some points about welcoming prayer and what it is and what it isn't. First of all, it's important to be aware of how emotions manifest themselves in our body. It looks and feels different for each one of us. For some, fear might be expressed by holding our breath or cold hands or feet. Anger might be expressed as flashes of heat or a surge of rising energy in us. Resistance might feel like or be expressed as numbness or coldness. And as I said, welcoming prayer is a way to help us understand and connect with how our own body manifests and reacts in those emotions. So, as I said, it's not a one and done. Welcoming prayer becomes part of our daily practice of meditation and contemplation, so that it's something that we continue to practice during the times of our meditation and contemplation. And what happens is that invests itself in us, so that when we're faced on a day-to-day basis with certain relationships that bring up these feelings, we know how to react to them because we've allowed them to be in us before. We've allowed ourselves to let go of them and allowed ourselves to move on. So in this welcoming prayer, we're welcoming what we are experiencing in the moment and then cooperating with the divine therapist, knowing that the Spirit is always present and active within us and in what is happening to us. So it's by letting go of our over-identification with our security and affection and being able to control a situation that we allow ourselves to fully embrace the moment as it is. We are not welcoming the events, people, or circumstances. That's an important part. We're welcoming and accepting our experience and reaction, and we're affirming that presence of God is with us and loves us no matter what. And I kind of equate that to forgiveness, in that when we are forgiving, we're not condoning the actions or behaviors of another person. We're simply acknowledging our feelings in those and then letting go of those, so that forgiveness is a freedom for us, as this welcoming prayer and the surrender and letting go of our feelings is a freedom for us. And in this, we have to know that we're not fixing anything. We're not fixing ourselves or others or situations. There's really no success or failure. There are just feelings and experiences. And so our intention is not to fix it, but to consent to God's presence and the action and the feelings, emotions, thoughts, sensations, or other commentaries to whatever we're experiencing in the moment, and especially in our bodies. And it's really about that letting go that allows us to appropriately respond to the guidance of the Spirit into what is happening. I just want to make a reading, take a moment, and this reading comes from this little book, what we call the Big Book, or the Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it's in a story in the back of the book. There are a number of different stories that we, as addicts and alcoholics, can relate to. This one is called Acceptance is the Answer. And oftentimes this little section of it is read at the openings of our meetings because, as I said in my PrayerLab minute, talking about the Serenity Prayer, we pray for the serenity to accept those things that we cannot change, courage to change the things that we can, and knowing what, and wisdom to know what those things are. So this is called Acceptance, and it says, "An acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me, and I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it is supposed to be at this moment. Nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Until I could accept my alcoholism, I could not stay sober. Unless I accept life completely on life's terms, I cannot be happy. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world as on what needs to be changed in me and my attitudes." In reaction to that reading, the promises that we read is that we will realize that God is doing for us what we cannot do for ourselves. That's one of the promises that we talk about in our AA meetings, and allowing God to do that work in our lives. And I think for me, I found through my centering prayer and meditation, welcoming prayer, my other contemplative practices, whether they be Visio Divina, Lectio Divina, whatever it might be, those are the moments when I feel that I can feel God's presence more closely. I also enjoy being outside and being able to feel the awe and wonder of nature. And I think that has a big effect on my daily attitude, put it that way. To be able to get out each and every day. That's why we enjoy coming south in the wintertime, is, we're not trying to walk and stay upright on ice and frozen snow. And we can walk through the maritime forest here and listen to the birds. They were just glorious the other day. We had a rain in the morning and the sun came out in the afternoon, and the birds were just very happy, put it that way. So it's just part of how we manage our way through our daily lives. So if we want to, let's do a practice, a practice of welcoming prayer, so that you might see and feel the experience and be able to kind of manage that on your own. I won't do a whole lot of guidance in this meditation. It's going to be more time that you'll be able to sit and feel without listening to my voice. So that's where I'd like to start. Find a position that's comfortable for you. As we usually do, we'll begin with some breathing and focusing on our breath, so that we can feel our body start to relax. Those cares start to drift away from us, and start to notice some of the feelings and sensations in our own body. So if it's comfortable for you, go ahead and close your eyes. And instead of trying to control our breathing, let's just take a deep breath in and then release. And do that 3 times. Take a deep breath in and release. Again, breathe in and release. Begin to notice your breathing pattern, the way your heart beats in rhythm with your breathing. Noticing your breath. Begin to feel and sink into what you were experiencing in this moment in your body. Feel and listen for any sensations, any warmth, any coolness. You may want to do a body scan, starting at your feet and then coming up through the main part of your body to the top of your head. Just feeling any sensations, any pain, start to welcome what you're experiencing in this moment in your body, as this is an opportunity to consent to God's indwelling. Now we can begin to let go of those feelings, those things that seem to bind us. Let these words drift to your mind as I repeat them. I let go of my desire for security, affection, control, and embrace this moment just as it is. I let go of my desire for security, affection, control, and embrace this moment just as it is. I let go. And as that feeling of letting go releases you, beginning to bring your attention back. Feel sensations in your hands and feet. And bring your attention back to the room. So it's a very easy type of timeout, if you will, during the day when things get a little chaotic and hectic and you feel that you're trying to latch on too tightly to things that are going on in your life. Just 3 movements of the prayer, feeling and sinking into what we're experiencing, welcoming that in, sitting with it for a bit, and then letting it go and knowing that we're surrendering to the will of God. It's our willingness to take time out and to do these things, these contemplative practices that change and allow God's transformation in our lives, rather than our willfulness to try to control situations and things and places, people, places, and things around us. So that's all I have for today. Any comments or reactions that anyone wants to share?